Leaders have layers, shaped by stories and struggles that are often unseen. In each episode, we peel back those layers, hearing from leaders whose paths may look nothing like yours, yet whose insights will feel strikingly relevant. You'll walk away with fresh eyes, ready to disrupt the status quo. This is Outsider Unscripted.
Welcome to this episode of Outsider Unscripted. Our guest today is Becka Ellis, calling in from the Philadelphia area where she lives with her husband, her kids, her mom, and approximately 450 pounds of dog, which sounds awesome. She's got about 16 years of professional experience, and we're going to talk about a lot of things today. Very excited to have you, Becka. Thanks for taking time out. Thanks for being here.
Always happy to come, Jamey. And I'm a fan, and I love Outsider Consulting, and love the opportunity to get to talk about me a little bit.
So Philadelphia area, we're recording this. It won't release till much later, and we'll be in the blues of in between football season and all that. But Super Bowl is in just a few days. So what's that been like the last month or so for you?
Well, I just want to talk about the evolution of a Philadelphia fan in the last 6 months, because I had my Phillies and my Eagles go postseason to drop the ball as soon as possible. So it's been tough. You learn that you have to play the long game when you're a Philadelphia fan, and try not to be the stereotypical Philadelphia fan on top of it.
Were you out there burning anything?
I was not. I've never climbed a lamppost. I've never burnt anything. I've never flipped a car. Actually, I've never gone to any of the celebrations, because when you have no place to stand, to walk, to use the facilities, it's a kind of a non-starter for me.
Yeah, it puts a downer on the experience. Yeah, I get that.
That's a no thank you.
I could try to be empathetic and say, well, I grew up outside Boston and being like a Red Sox fan, but since the Pats are in the Super Bowl, that would just sound like gloating. So I'm not going to mention that I grew up outside of Boston.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if Bo Nix wouldn't have broken his ankle, you might not be in the same situation that we're in today. Just saying. I don't know if you heard Nick Foles put out a tweet right before the game saying, it's not unheard of for a second string quarterback to beat the Pats in the postseason. I'm just gonna put that out there.
So I don't really like Eli Manning, but I do have to respect the man of he's the only person in existence that has beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. So it's like, go. I mean, good, yeah. I get it. Yeah, I get it. I can appreciate. So let's who's Becka? What's the origin story of the superhero?
Man, what is Becka? I like to think that I am my superhero is a couple things, but I would say the big one from a professional standpoint is I'm a connector. I'm a facilitator. So I'm in partnerships, and I look at partnerships definitely as a service type role, right? You're in service to your customers, you're in service to your partners, you're in service to your company. And the biggest thing that I can do to service everyone that I work with is not being the smartest person in the room, but knowing who the smartest person is to make the connection to keep things going.
Can you say more about what partners are for those of us who aren't in that area?
Absolutely. So partnerships, and I'm going to geek out a little bit here, so apologies in advance. I really think it's the bee's knees. It's the best way to scale a business. Partnerships is any B2B or business to business relationship where you have a mutual goal in end. And there are so many ways to build a partnership. It could be an introduction to someone and just making a referral. It could be an integration relationship. It could be a reselling relationship. It could be a marketplace relationship where, you're going on the Apple store or the Google store and downloading a new app. That's a partnership that they have, right? Partnerships touch us in every way. But it is one of those roles that you don't go to college for. You fall into it. You either were in some form or fashion supporting you're in sales or you were supporting something and you just fell into partnerships. And then everyone's like, oh, I get to just do relationships and not carry a briefcase for sales. I'm down. Like, how do I do this? Sign me up. And then you have a career that you never planned.
So, okay. So going back to Becca, what's one of your early life challenges that really helped shape who you are?
So many people might not know this about me, or it's something that I've been a little bit more open with as I've matured in my career. But I was 19 when I had my first son. So if you can think about it, I was a child having a child. And I didn't have a degree at that time, didn't have a path in life, but I didn't want to be that statistic of that teenage mother that never, outperforms what she could. And it was a struggle and I was a single mother at that point, as I had gotten divorced and was raising my son on my own and put myself through college and knew that I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to thrive. So it taught me that bullheadedness and tenacity will overcome anything. And I feel like even at your worst, there's always a way to overcome, push on. I feel like having that experience that, I have a 20-year-old that's in the military now. And hopefully, when I say this, people look at me like, there's no way she's old enough to have a kid that old. Because I started so young. And it definitely made my life a lot harder, but I wouldn't change a thing because it gave me strength that I probably never would have known I had.
Yeah, it's one of the unpopular, I think, and like I say unpopular, like I don't like it, is that often the hardest challenges, the most painful situations are where we grow the most, and we look back, and that's what shaped us. Not that we want to sign up for pain, right? But
Oh, absolutely. And I'm very much a believer of it forces you. It's like that metamorphosis where, through that pain, the best way is to just go through it head on. And I'm very much a believer in things happen for a reason. And you have to embrace it. You have to go right through it, but you'll come out stronger on the other side.
speaking of challenges, I know that you've been through some difficult job searches along the way. And one of the things that we talked about, even in setting this up, is how often we do interviews or we tell our story, and it's from the reference point of like the mountaintop of like, hey, so successful. And I know that some of that challenge isn't that long ago for you. So can you talk a little bit about career challenges, uncertainty? What's that like?
Absolutely. I will. We all can say that there's certain roles that have seen a lot of change in the last several years. Sales, partnerships. Typically, they're the first roles cut. Partnerships in general can be the first teams that are cut, and it's not to one segment of the workforce. You're seeing it across SaaS and the services and whatnot, right? So, unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of a reduction in force twice now in the last, say, 20, that probably like 36 months. That's terrifying, to wake up one day and realize what you thought was going well is no longer, and you have to find something new. Um, it's terrifying, and it's not an easy place to be and not an easy place to grow from. I actually am 9 days into a new role today. So I was a part of a reduction in force starting December 1st. Well, officially December 5th. It's right before the holiday season. So nothing like, getting on a call with your boss first thing in the morning and HR's on the line. You know where it's going to go and it's not going anywhere good. And my gosh, it's coming into the holiday season. Everyone's supposed to be joyful and it's always expensive. Um, but I will say that out of the two reductions in force or layoffs that I've had in my career, this last one has almost been I kind of look at it a little differently. I approached it differently. I didn't feel the stress that I'd felt the first time, the defeat, the rage, the depression, the uncertainty, the lack of my own like facilities where I think the first time I went through a reduction in force, it was the whole spectrum of emotions, right? And a lot of it centered on my value or the value that I put on myself. And that is absolute malarkey to think that we're going to hold companies or someone's vision or version of us as our North Star. No, I did that one time. I'm never doing it again. I'm not going to allow it to impact me the way that it did so negatively. And I think luckily, unfortunately, even though I went through a reduction in force this time, I chose to look at it in a different way. I looked at it as a new start, and it was going to be a win. This was going to lead me to something better, something bigger, something more positive with more potential. And I feel like I manifested it because it wasn't very long before I was having the right conversations and was lucky enough to land a new role.
You strike me as resilient. Do you describe yourself that way?
Absolutely. I've had to be resilient throughout my life to be where I'm at. Definitely. I like to think that I'm a problem solver. And that's not always a good thing, right? Sometimes I have to tell myself not to be the problem solver because not everyone wants you to solve their problems. And that's my gut instinct initially, is to just solve the problem. So usually when it comes to my own, I don't want to sit there and be the victim. I don't want to sit there and wallow in it. I mean, everyone needs to have their grieving period, and that's 100% a process in emotions. But I looked at it like, okay, this is happening. I have no control over the situation, but the one thing I do have control over is how I respond to it. And I saw that as an opportunity to reconnect with my network, grow, to hone in on some of my own personal um, growth goals and challenges, whether it's to be more mindful, to be more present, to be off the dang phone more often, to stop being sucked into the stupid things that you get sucked into on the phone, to be more present with my family, to stick to the same routine and still get up early rather than wallow in the sadness and sleep in. Was still getting up early every day and getting to the gym, and I was doing the things I needed to do to keep myself positive so I could be resilient, so I could continue moving forward.
If you would take us back to one of your lowest days, the first time that you went through that, and paint the picture for us, like how bad was it?
It was bad. I suffer depression on and off as it is, and then you add that to it. I felt meaningless. I felt worthless. I questioned my purpose. I questioned my value. And not just my value as an employee, but my value as a mother, as a provider, as a wife, as a human. And we are so much more than our job. So the fact that something had me feeling like that, it was dark days and dark thoughts, unfortunately. And it- the first time, it was this like guttural, deep down, like inside of me, rage and depression that I felt. And it took me a while to get over it. And it's it's sad because I think it impacted me for a good 12 to 18 months even after the fact, where I definitely had trauma responses specifically to how that ended, how it was handled, the way that I felt I was treated, and it's sad that, again, we don't we don't live to work. Like we work to like live, right? And the fact that I let my job and directly impact myself that much is bad. I'm never going to allow that to happen again.
Some of the healthy habits you mentioned, like getting to the gym and this most recent riffs and kind of those habits. What are some of the things you do that keep you sort of ahead of that and keep you grounded?
So definitely gym. For health purposes, for motivation, it's releasing endorphins, it's keeping you healthy, it's keeping you fit, it's keeping you looking good. It's all those good things. I can't speak enough about the gym. Everyone should be able to move their body in some form or fashion every single day. That's important. Communication is important, and leaning on those that you care about and that you love. I'm lucky that I have a great network. I was informed of my most recent reduction in force on a Monday, went official on Friday, and before Friday, I already had 4 interviews lined up from my network. It wasn't because I posted it, because wasn't able to actually make the announcement. It was just through conversations and connections and friends and colleagues that were able to get me in front of the right people. I think I might have applied to 10 to 15 jobs. That was it. Um, but I went through quite a few interview processes. I randomly had some people reach out at just timing worked out well. I had some recruiters reach out. Again, maybe 10 to 15 applications that I actually submitted that I found on like LinkedIn or Indeed. Now, what are the odds on such a small number? That's actually how I got the job. Wasn't through my network. It was through an application that I actually filled out. Um, Man, odds are crazy. I definitely should have been to Vegas on that one, but it was activating my network, and that's one of the biggest habits. Is this world that we live in today is all about who you know, and I don't mean in a nepotism way, but it's the strongest thing that you care about, that you carry about yourself in a professional stance, is your brand, right? It is how you show up to work every day. It's how you show up in how you treat others. It's how you show up in the value that you bring to others, and how you treat others, and how you talk to others, how you're the cheerleader for the people in your team, how you're a service leader to maybe members that report to you. Um, and I feel like that is, one of the biggest things that we should be nurturing all the time. Not even in, those down times and those low times, or when you're looking for work, but in your networks, because people show up for you when you show up for them.
The thing that we don't like, probably, collectively and as a culture, is when somebody gets a seat or gets, looked at because, of a family member or because of like whatever that isn't their merit, right? And it's like, oh, I just showed up, and like, oh, it's the boss's kid, or whatever, right? Whatever the stereotype we have in our head is, and that piece of like earning by merit, that's definitely something, my background's military, and saw that word. The military's not perfect, but there is a definitely a system and an aspiration towards it's merit based, right? Like prove yourself, and plenty of times there's uh kind of that validation, that check, that, hey, do you know so and so? Like you call someone, hey, do you know Jamey? Yeah, served with him here, and he did a terrible job, or he did an awesome job, or this, right? And it's like you get the picture of the person because you're validating it. Again, it's through relationships, and I think there's probably a lot of things in work and in organizations where we kind of dehumanize this as if it wasn't all about relationships, as if we're not human beings. We're not machines. We're not reduced to just a sterile AI generated resume, Indeed process that churns through, right? We are
As much as the world tries to force us into that, we're so much more than that. And even if you get a conversation, or you get an invitation or a seat at the table because of who you have to continue to earn it.
yeah.
So it's never truly, I mean, it is who you know, but that's only going to get you so far. It's your own work ethic and drive and capabilities that are going to see you past that initial introduction anyway. But it's a quicker opportunity to be able to maybe get in and make that impression.
Yeah, that's good. So I want to ask you about leadership. How do you define what it means to be a leader? What is a leader?
Guide, a protector, and a mentor to what you should want to be or skills that you want to be able to derive. I feel like leaders need to they need to be in service to their team, and everyone operates differently, but the best leaders understand how their employees tick, what matters to them. They need to be able to give them guidance. And that's not always, it's sometimes it's constructive. Sometimes it's the guidance that they don't necessarily want. That's the bitter pill to swallow. But a leader, I think, always puts their team first as well.
Looking back, again, kind of early days of career life, what leaders do you look back to that kind of imprinted you, whether directly or through other means?
I'm lucky in my early career. I had some amazing leaders. I had a VP of sales that I first reported to, and I dipped my toe into this sales world. And was going through a really rough time. Mind you, it was when my dad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and we lost him. And I had the most amazing mentor and boss that saw that I wanted so much more than just to be where I was, to be stagnant. I had growth goals, and I wanted to do more and be more and have new opportunities while I was struggling with a young family and, emergencies at home, and was just a bedrock. Whether it was a steady voice to listen to, or a strong shoulder to lean on, um, quiet words of wisdom in the darkest of times, and had my back. Like, I knew that, through the thick and through the thin and the good times and the bad, that I didn't have to worry about what he thought or how he presented me to other people. He had my back, and he's fantastic and someone I still look up to today. I had another leader in my next role, and she is still one of my closest friends and one of the first people that I turn to when I need professional advice, because she's been there and she's done it, and she's so just smart in how she approaches things, that she's one of the first people that I call in any given situation. She was call number two when I had my layoff this time. And her and I don't even speak that often still, but I just trust her so much professionally. She's always just been very, very supportive and allowing me to fail, but always being that support, or that net to catch me if I was on a bad path. If I was failing, I was going to fail quick, and we were going to move on and move forward, and we did it together, and we strategized together, and she pushed me to be better. And then I even had a boss that we both know, and you've had him on this podcast before, and um he was great. Funny fact, I didn't even think he liked me for the first 6 months I worked for him, but he's one of the best bosses I've ever had. And we didn't see eye to eye most times, actually. And he was one of those bosses that I could disagree with, and I could voice my opinion, and he would listen to me, and we would come to an agreement, whether it was, nope, I'm the boss and what I'm saying is going, or like, okay, maybe we'll try it your way. Let's do it. I learned a lot from him. I think I learned some professionalism from him. I learned how to, he always used to tell me to take the Philly out of me, or if I was just being a little too, I can be aggressive, or I can be too quick to judgment, or, just full speed ahead, or just talking too fast. He would be that guiding force and kind of polishing, maybe rounding some of those sharp edges that I had, and helping me to be a better employee, a better colleague, a better leader. I probably learned some of the best leadership skills from him.
So not going to like burn my sources, but I did reach out about good questions that I could ask you. And without specifically identifying who gave me these questions, I've got two. The first is, why do you choose violence on a regular basis?
Why would I say that? Oh my gosh. Yeah. That I guess that's the Philly in me. And this is exactly what I had said about tempering my my judgments. Right. So there have been times that I am quick to judge or quick to rush to a judgment in a situation. And one of the life skills that I have learned from him is to take a minute to reflect and not just jump to that conclusion, not to just exist. And I probably will say I still tend to I'm full speed ahead. And my husband always jokes too, like, slow down. It's like, no, that's not my personality. This is who I am. I can try to refine it, but I'm not changing. It's a core trait. That's not changing it. But yes, I try to wake up every day and choose, I wouldn't say passiveness,
What?
but
I
I try to approach things from a state of grace instead of violence.
Speaking of your husband, the second question is, why does your husband torture himself by remaining a Green Bay Packers fan?
Well, that's a good question because he's born and raised in the same town I am. So how does a boy from small town outside of Philadelphia end up a Green Bay Packers fan? Is still wild to me.
That does seem odd.
I believe it was the Brett Favre
Eh,
days, and he just needed to pick a team, and he wanted to be obtuse and not pick the local team. I just thank God he did become a Dallas fan.
that would have been rough.
Would have been really rough. So we're already in an Apple to an Android relationship, so things are kind of already a struggle as it is. But I'll take the Packers. Not to mention we beat them the last couple times we've seen them, so they get to hold it its head.
You've done some things like you I think have a big, for all your Philly, for all your choosing violence, you've got, I think, a big heart and a desire to give back. At least that's what seems evident. And in one in particular, Tunnels to Towers, I'd love for you to talk about a little bit. Obviously, something that I've got a lot of respect for and an affinity towards. Talk a little about Tunnels to Towers, if you would.
I could talk about this for hours. So let me kind of take it a step back because this is actually how you and I connected after my tenure with Trintech, where we had first met. I had reached out to you because I wanted to get some more intentionality in my life. I felt like too often I was getting bogged down in Facebook or Candy Crush, or I was just wasting all of this time just stuck on that stupid phone. And I wanted to do more. And I was approaching a new year of I want to do better. I want to use my time more wisely. I wanted to be more intentional in how I chose to use my time. And in that year, and this was 3 years ago, around this time actually, where I decided I wanted to read more. I wanted to be off my phone more. And one of the things I chose to do is sign up to be a race director for a 5K for to host a local event supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. So for those that don't know, Tunnel to Towers is a nonprofit organization that was formed because of 9/11. So the founder's brother was unfortunately a firefighter that gave the ultimate sacrifice on that terrible day that unfortunately far too many of us remember the trauma from that day, right? And as a result of his sacrifice, his brother started this foundation in his honor. And they have three critical goals that they look at doing. And it is paying off the mortgages for those that make the ultimate sacrifice. And that's first responders, so police, fire, as well as military. For those that are critically wounded, they actually will build them smart homes so they can adapt to their new capabilities and being able to have a home that they're able to navigate. And then one of their more recent initiatives is working on homelessness in the veteran community. And they've been building and renovating facilities to house veterans and get them off the street. So my husband is a law enforcement, and my oldest son is Army Guard. So it's something that's near and dear to my heart. These are people that go out every day and will potentially and willingly make the ultimate sacrifice. And they're not paid the greatest. They're not always painted in the greatest of lights. And they are the backbone of what keep us living the lives that we live. Let us spend hours playing nothing but Candy Crush. It's on the backs of the men and women that serve. And I think what better way than to serve back to them. So this will be my third year supporting a 5K where the donations go back to the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. And I will say it's one of the best foundations and where money can be spent. I think it's something like 95.5 cents of every dollar goes directly back into the charitable donations that they're making through their various programs, which is an unheard of percentage of where the money goes.
That's really high. I love too that the three emphases are all about home, like a place to live and a place to live and to make a home. That's awesome.
It's where we should feel safe and where we should feel secure and where we should build the best memories. And this is, like you said, an organization that is making that possible. So I am lucky that I get to serve in the capacity that I do in helping, even if it's in just some small way.
Well, thank you.
Which, by the way, a little plug, our race will be May 16th of this year.
There we go. May 16th.
Hoping to launch it. I think the event actually launches in a week and a half for registration.
Okay. So it'll be up by the time we release this. We will include a link. Oh, yeah, good stuff. What else do you do that's giving back or passion for you?
Giving back or passion? Well, and this might not seem like it's giving back, but I serve and bartend sometimes, occasionally, which is random, right? I have a full-time job that's busy and I'm very lucky to have the job and the status that I have, but I go and I work at this little pub that's like 15 minutes from home, and I don't do it often. So I get to have the passion when I do it. And people are like, "Oh, you're the best server, bartender." I'm like, yes, because I don't do it full time. But I love it. I love being able to make people laugh and to joke and to have a good meal. Food is life to me. There's so much that can be solved around a good plate of food. And so I love the idea that I get to, even in a small way, be able to impact a really good meal for people to have. And the food's not always the greatest, but they're going to have the best damn service.
I don't know what you're talking about. Pub food is awesome. Something about it.
There's something about some greasy food that just and a cold beer that it just hits the right
Especially
way.
if you're watching the Pats.
Yes. Well, we shall see.
Indeed, we shall. So if I'm in that position, and let's say where you were a couple of times ago, and I've just been completely blindsided by a reduction in force, I got that call from my boss in HR. What's one thing that you want to say, almost as if talking to yourself back in some of those lowest moments? What's one thing you would say to that person?
This too shall pass. It will. I mean, everything happens for a reason. You know, and the phrases aren't coming to mind, but to really reach true growth, it's almost like you have to go through an evolution, and sometimes it's guttural, and it is all encompassing and it breaks you down to the lowest that you can be. But to really grow, you need that destruction sometimes. And know that it's not the end of the world. And this is not impacting your value, that you are not less than or unworthy of, that great things are coming, and that you need to take the time that you need to feel the way you feel because you're entitled to it. But don't stay there. Move on. Find other ways to find joy. Do something for yourself, even if it's going to the gym or taking a walk or learning a new hobby or picking up something stupid or finding a great sports team like the Lions to watch fail miserably. I'm saying that for someone that might listen to this, right? It Feel what you need to feel, but move on. Don't be the victim. The worst thing that I feel like can happen is to allow someone or something else to ruin your peace, to ruin your happiness, to impact your life. And know that all things pass. And this is probably like God's path to better things.
Well said. Thanks for that. Thanks to you for this form of giving back and just helping the community, obviously helping me, helping the outsider. Love having you on, love our dialogues and just the part that you've been in our community. And thanks for taking the time today. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to do this. And if ever there's another topic we need to discuss, or if you want to put me and a certain somebody in the same room, we could always duke it out.
Definitely. I love it. Thanks, Becka.
All right, have a great day.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow along on our YouTube where we release our episodes early. We hope today's conversation inspired you, and we'd love to hear what insights you took away. So please comment below, and we look forward to seeing you next time.